Fauci's replacement signed deals pushing research collaboration with Chinese Communist Party in Wuhan, responsible for secret reversal of gain of function funding ban. Uh, the CCP is entrenched in every aspect of our government, and we're finding out more and more how many politicians and bureaucrats are actually owned and get their marching orders from the Chinese government. It's crazy. And I've been saying from the beginning of this whole stupid 19 stuff that Chinese government imprints, fingerprints are all on it. They are behind all of this. And the reasoning behind all of this is they did all this to try to get President Trump out of office, from what I believe. But if you look at all the aspects of government, you see CCP fingerprints all on it from the top down, from Joe Biden on down. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. It has a link to my Patreon where I talk about things I can't talk about here. And there's also a link to my Instagram. All right, let's talk about this news. Dr. Hugh Chinkloss, I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name, but he's selected to be Dr. Anthony Fauci's temporary successor at the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, spearheaded effort to broaden the federal agency's collaborative research with Chinese military-linked scientific institutions that funded controversial bat coronavirus research conducted by the Wuhan Institute of Virology and EcoHealth Alliance. Now, on my old channel, you can find out how all this stuff ties together. I've done tons of videos pertaining to the Wuhan Institute of Virology and EcoHealth. If you go to if you click the link tree in the description and then click on Odyssey, it'll take you to all those old videos that no longer is on YouTube. But Alchinklos, or however you pronounce his name, let's just say Alchinklos, has served as Fauci's principal deputy director, the second most powerful, rivaling the $6 billion agency since 2006. He's also the same aide that Fauci sent panic emails obtained via Freedom of Information Act request, and I talked about that as well, about the gain of function research occurring in Wuhan in the early days of the pandemic. In a recent deposition, Fauci also admitted Chinkloss as responsible for reversing a ban on the federal fund supporting gain of function research in the case of Ralph Barrett, who shared his deadly research tactics with scientists in Wuhan. Now, just to refresh and remind people, gain of function research was banned, and he's the guy that actually lifted that ban. During his tenure, he appeared to serve as the National Institute of Health point person, spearheading the agency's collaborative research with efforts, including leading a delegation to China in 2011 to sign a memorandum of understanding with the military-linked Chinese entity known as the National Natural Science Foundation of China, or NSFC. The NFSC ultimately became one of several funders, including Fauci's National Institute of Health, National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, supporting the controversial work manipulating bat coronaviruses by the Wuhan Institute of Virology and EcoHealth Alliance. In 2010, former NIH Director Francis Collins had entered the U.S. government into a joint agreement with the NSFC to facilitate, quote, cooperation in medical research. And again, a lot of this stuff I covered on my old channel, but this stuff needs to be acknowledged. He, quote, expressed his hope to further push the substantial collaboration between researchers in medical sciences of the two countries by taking the advantage of the NSFC NIH Memorandum of Understanding, notes the NSFC summary. The following year, A 16-person delegation from the NIH, headed by Klaus, visited Beijing to meet with their Chinese Communist Party counterparts to solidify, quote, carrying out the funding of joint research programs. As an NSFC press release notes, quote, 34 projects were selected for joint funding over the meeting. The two sides also held discussions on topics such as priority areas or the next round and evaluation and funding mechanisms. Besides, a workshop on funding management was held following the evaluation session, and staff members from both sides shared experience and ideas on issues ranging from peer review process to post funding management. The meeting has been highly recognized by both sides as a milestone in the collaboration between NSFC and NIH. Beyond describing itself as a state owned scientific body that is, quote, guided by President Xi Jinping socialist thoughts. Now, that's a quote. They admit this. And, quote, earnestly implementing the spirit of the party's 19th National Congress, the NSFC has collaborated extensively with the regime's People's Liberation Army, or PLA. See how all this stuff ties together? The government, the Chinese government, the CCP in particular, runs all this stuff. The National Science Foundation of China's 2020 funding guidelines identify, quote, innovative research in defense and military and civilian integration as receiving preferential funding. The funding also inked a 2016, quote, strategic cooperation agreement with the Science and Technology Committee of the Chinese Communist Party's Central Military Commission, the regime's paramount military policy making body. So again, their military basically controls all this. The CCP military and the PLAs control all this. So now when I call the virus a military bioweapon, you can see how I came to that conclusion. Annual reports from NSFC reveals several researchers from PLA-run institutions receives millions in funding. Over 75 studies funded the NSFC. Over 75 studies funded by the NSFC were conducted by researchers working for Chinese Communist military-run institutions. Studies funded by NSFC have also been conducted by researchers from various branches of the PLA General Hospital, including Wuhan-based facilities. The studies conducted by researchers from the Artillery Academy of the PLA and Unit 63880 of the PLA, which is, quote, key military and national base for testing electronic information systems under electromagnetic environments, have also enjoyed NSFC funding. In addition to funding PLA researchers, the NSFC has also explicitly co-sponsored projects alongside the PLA. Studies carried out under a controversial NIAID grant to Eco Health Alliance. Again, I went into great detail on all that, which funded bat severe acute respiratory syndrome, or SARS, like coronavirus research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, also identified NSFC as financially supporting the research. They supported all of this. And 5 studies focusing on bat coronavirus research from 2016 to 2018 list both NIAID and NSFC as the primary funders, including a 2016 study authored by Eco Health Alliance President Peter Daszak and the Wuhan Institute of Virology Shizing Li, focusing on the, quote, modulation of the host immune response in bat SARS-like coronaviruses. Daszak, and I talked about Daszak before, and she appeared together on 2 other SARS-like coronavirus studies in 2017 and 2018. So what does Hugh know? That's the question. Our Chinlaw's intimate role in fostering collaboration between China and the U.S. on scientific research, perhaps even the studies that scientists allege have led to the creation of the stupid 19 also comes amidst Fauci's sending him panic emails about potential gain of function research that occurred at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Dated February 1st, the email obtained via a Freedom of Information Act request from Fauci to Auchincloss stated, quote, Hugh, it is essential that we speak this AM. Keep your cell phone on. I have a conference call at 7:45 a.m. with Azar. It likely will be over by 8:45. Read this paper as well as the email that I will forward you now. You have tasks today that must be done. Thanks, Tony. The academic paper included on the message is titled A SARS-like cluster of circulating bat coronaviruses shows potential for human emergence and focused on manipulating viruses to understand better how they might attach themselves to humans. The abstract explains, quote, using the SARS-CoV reverse genetic system, we generated and characterized a chimeric virus expressing the spike of bat corona SHC014 in a mouse-adapted SARS-CoV backbone. The results indicate that group 2B viruses encoding the SHC014 spike in a wild type backbone can effectively use multiple orthologs of the SARS receptor human and angiotensin, however you pronounce that word, converting enzyme to replicate efficiently in primary human airway cells and achieve in vitro titers equivalent to epidemic strains of SARS-CoV-2. So they've been manipulating it all along, which we already knew. But during a recent deposition of Fauci, he also appeared to blame AIDS, likely Auchincloss, for granting exceptions to researchers conducted deadly gain of function research, such as Ralph Baric, which discussed the research activity of Baric, who has been described by Wuhan Institute of Virology bat coronavirus researcher as a, quote, longtime collaborator. Fauci explicitly pointed to Auchincloss as responsible for giving Baric an exemption to the agency's ban on deadly form of research. So the question is, why did he grant this? Why did he get rid of the ban? Why did he grant this guy? Why did he grant him access to this, even though we had banned it? Because we knew that it could probably escape from a lab and get into humans and cause what we now call the COVID-19 pandemic. So why would he let them people continue to work on gain of function? And why did Dr. Fauci lie about the whole gain of function stuff when he said we weren't funding gain of function research, when he know that's a flat out lie? We got the emails behind it. Nothing's gonna happen to Fauci. He lied under oath and put a lot of people in harm's way. And again, nothing's gonna happen from him. And the question, and the other question that begs is, why would you put this guy in charge of NIH after Fauci is stepping down and leaving? Why would you keep the same people that came up with these lockdowns and all this other stuff that doesn't seem to work? Why would you continue to have these people in power? Why would you keep these bureaucrats in power? Because again, I think they're owned and ran by the CCP. Only thing we need a complete overhaul of the U.S. government bureaucracy and make sure none of these people have ties to CCP, and we need to start all over when it comes to every single government institution, I think from the top on down. But let me know what you think. Leave your comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe, and check out democrepublics.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace. Oh, say,